Hello and welcome to the Tough Girl Podcast, a 3-time award-winning show that aims to motivate and inspire you while increasing the amount of female role models in the media, especially in relation to adventure and physical challenges. I'm your host, Sarah Williams. If you're passionate about adventure, challenge and learning from women who have overcome obstacles and achieved remarkable things, then this is the podcast for you. Every Tuesday at 7 a.m, new episodes go live featuring incredible women who share their stories, insights and tips to help you achieve your dreams and goals. You can support the Tough Girl mission by signing up as a patron. Visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast. Keep listening until the very end as I share more information about what's going on with me with Tough Girl Challenges, give shout outs and recommend other Tough Girl Podcast episodes. More information can be found at toughgirlchallenges.com.
I'm Sami Sauri. I am originally from Spain, currently living in Chamonix. I don't know if I'll stay here. It's my base at the moment. It's lovely. It's beautiful in the mountains. But yeah, born and raised in Barcelona, Spain. I'm a full-time cyclist, athlete, and ambassador for many brands. I do multi-sports. I love climbing. I love skiing, and I love surfing when I can. I'm pretty far off the sea right now, but still I try to squeeze in 1 or 2 surfs a year. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's a little resume.
Oh, I love that. You must have been sporty when you were younger, growing up in Barcelona. Were you sporty? Were you outdoorsy? Did you have siblings? What were your early years like?
Yeah, sporty, let's say. My mother used to put me in a lot of after school things. I used to do a lot of ballet and jazz. So actually indoor sports instead of outside sports. When I was 14, I discovered skateboarding and longboarding, downhill longboard and all that. And I went crazy through it. And I had this big face of I just wanted to skateboard. And I did it for quite a while until I discovered surfing. And that absolutely made me see a new world. I surfed for so many years. I traveled quite a fair bit around the world for surfing as well. And I was working in a surf shop and it was just all about surf and skates. Until I was 17, 18. 17 was my first fixed gear bike. And that was more because, the skateboard was a bit annoying to cruise around town. And I found these friends with this flashy, painful and colorful bikes. And I was like, oh, what's that? And they're like, oh yeah, this is fixed gear. They do it a lot in New York and it gives you a lot of adrenaline. You don't have brakes. And I was like, wait a second, what? I want. So yeah, then I got fixed gear for the first time when I was 17. So that's more or less the initials. I mean, yeah, sporty, when I was young, I did I actually did some sports like tennis, horse riding, golf, kayaking. My mother just used to send me to all these summer camps and camps that they will do multi-sports. So I loved it all. It was hard to choose.
One of your other passions is, as well as sports and being sort of a multi-sport athlete, is around your creative passions, being a photographer and a creative director. Is that something that you sort of studied formally, or is that something that you've just sort of learned on your travels?
Photography, I learned pretty young. I had a first camera when I was 6 years old. It was obviously a film camera. And I remember having one ever since. And I wanted to do stuff with it, but I never thought that could be a job or something that I could, throw myself into. I was just doing it for fun and taking photos of my friends until I had a twist in my life when I, from working in restaurants and shops and stuff, had the pleasure to do the Route 66, and that teach me a lot about filming and digital photography. And thanks to that, I will say my career was a bit lunch. And I got really into it. I got my first digital camera and I went for it. And since then I just saw a new world that I can actually express myself through my cycling and photography. And that was pretty magical.
And was Route 66 sort of your first big solo challenge?
It was not solo. We were 4 and we did a film about it. And it was my it was my biggest trip in my life from that time. I just signed for an American team for doing Criterium. not long distance, and fixed gear criteriums and road criteriums. And, that's like a 40-minute race. It's not more. So it was kind of pretty tough to go in from that into like a 300K day on the road in a highway in the middle of America. So it definitely switched my life completely. Yeah.
When did you know that you had a knack for endurance, I suppose? Because that's quite a big switch up.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess by that time I discovered it, and I did the second trip. And then I did my first ever gravel race, which was Unbound, and I finished it in 15 hours, but I even forgot to plug the route on my wow. So I don't know. I think I just got into something that I couldn't imagine that was possible. And, again, I even though I was already racing for 3 to 4 years in the series called Red Hook Crits, which was more fixed gear. And, I had a few sponsors here and there, nothing that it could pay off, but, I can still travel and see the world through the bike, which was my goal. And yeah, the endurance just came, I guess, naturally. But I don't know, lately, a lot of people say, I've spoken to a lot of people, women are naturally more endurance than, like, I don't know, sprinters. But, I don't know, maybe it's just a thing. I love endurance now.
Are you a planner? Are you a goal setter? Do you have like specific, bike races or adventures or parts of the world that you want to travel to? And then, you either like write it down, make the goal, then go out and make it happen. Or are you more of a go with the flow, see what opportunities become available? How do you sort of decide on the adventures and challenges and the places that you travel to? What does that look like?
I think I've been switching quite a fair bit. I will say now I'm a bit of a more go with the flow, because I felt like over the past years, sometimes I've been planning so much. Like I literally will have 3 calendars or 3 places where I had my notebook and my calendar on paper and my calendar on Google. And I will have everything so perfectly planned, and then nothing went to plan. And I was like, I can't believe it. It happened to me a few times, and I just stopped doing it so precisely that I would let myself enjoy more what is coming on the go. Because also I'm not I think after COVID, it's changed a lot the way friends work, the way events happen, etc., etc. There's some events that obviously have dates from now to next year, but there's other ones that pop up in January, February that you actually would like to go, and then you have already everything planned. So I'm letting some space for things to happen now. Towards the next year, I said I'm gonna do 5 races that they're 100% gonna happen. Well, I call them events because I will do them more as an adventurer than a racer. But leaving that other space to things to happen on the go is when best things happen, I think.
So I'd love to hear more about some of like the films that you've made, and what sort of style that you've gone for. So whether that's from your adventures in Bolivia or Yemen or Tour de Mont Blanc, what's one of the adventures that really sort of stands out for you and that you've filmed and shared?
I think Yemen Socotra for sure is, it stands out as one of the most incredible one. It's also one of the ones I went back to do the same loop, and we brought 9 people to do it because it was just so stunning and so unique that we wanted other people to see this place. We did actually a film about it, but it never came out. And I think Bolivia or other places, like my goal has always been trying to discover places and know the culture and the people, and through my own power. I think most of the ones I've did, it's pretty unique, and I want to replicate that. Also, some European 200Ks and you're in another country, so showcase that strongly, and also like other places around the world. But I don't know. I think I can't choose the favorite one, of course, that I've done. I think I like them all. They all are unique for something. And yeah, I mean, I think, well, actually, Turkey was also pretty good. And I'm going back in a few weeks. So
Amazing. So let's just dig into Yemen in a little bit more detail. Can you tell us about more like what you were doing over there? So you said you've been out there twice now, and then the second time you took out sort of 9 people to experience it as well on this loop. In terms of when you first went out and the planning and preparation and the logistics, what did that look like?
So this was a trip organized by my friend Omar Al-Sadi, which he is owner of a bike shop in Dubai. And he sent me an email out of the blue. We didn't know each other at all. And no, actually, he sent me an Instagram first and asked me for my email. And he sent me an email and he said, "Hey, I want to do this trip in Socotra. Would you like to do it with me?" And I was like, "What? Like, I can't believe it. Like, yeah, for sure. Like, it's this unique island. Like, I can't say no." So again, that was the time and space that you leave for things to happen. And that exactly happened. It was perfect. So he, as he's an Arab person, he can deal with everything. So for all the audience to understand, Socotra is part of Yemen, but is protected by UAE. Yeah, of course, like if you're Arab, there's a lot of things that you could do a little bit more in advance, but you can only enter with a guided tour or, yeah, like a tourist thing because they have to deal with visas and stuff. You can't go alone. There's no couch rents. There's nothing like, it's very wild. So these people basically take care of you and take you to the best places. So when we landed, obviously, there was like, there's a little capital and then there's the island and everything is just vast and wild. And probably people haven't even stepped on half of the places, but I don't know. It was exotic and the gravel was pretty tough. And we did this thing both together, because he, as owner of a shop, wanted to bring people to exclusive places like Socotra. Then he does other trips to Oman and he did, something in Saudi Arabia and, places that you maybe will never cycle, but you have the opportunity to cycle thanks to that. So this is what we wanted to create. And yeah, we basically did it.
And how was it being a woman over in Yemen? Like, were you like, obviously you were with a tour guide and had your friend there as well, who was dealing with all of that. Was it a common sight for women to be on a bike, or was that quite sort of an anomaly?
I think nobody in that island has seen a woman before and on a bike. That's starting from that point. And then also the guiding that the people that we had with us, which they're amazing. I love them to heart. They're so welcoming and yeah, I even tattooed something because they were saying it all the time. Anyway, but basically the first day they're like, "Oh no. I don't think this woman can do the hill that we actually routed, we mapped it on the map." She's like, "No, I don't think she can do it." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I mean, I don't know who you're talking about. I don't want to be the anything, but and then we were like, we want to find the most off-road paths to do this loop. And they're like, "Oh, no. I don't think you can go off-road. Like, she cannot go off-road for sure not." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then my friend, he literally opened the shop like maybe 6 months. So, he's been working a lot and he had no time for cycling. So in fitness, he was really low and I was really high because I just came from Bolivia from altitude. And 2 weeks after I was straight in Socotra. So I was flying up the hills and I had no problem. I love gravel. And I really love downhill. So I also had no problem for what it was, the technicality side of things. And yeah, after I think the second or the third day, they really respect me and let me do anything I wanted. It was culturally pretty amazing to see how they deal. Also because Omar, he's still Arab and he still has his religion and everything. And we still connected by the bike. We were talking through personal stuff on the bike. We could see that our lives were so different. They were so parallel, but still we were united by something very beautiful that took us into some place that it was unique and stunning. So I don't know. I was feeling very grateful of that trip because it made me see a lot of things that I've, never experienced. And actually, thanks to that, and then the next one, I started studying Arab as a language to see if I can communicate better with a woman, because in Yemen, for example, only woman to woman can speak, or if you are the friend, the sibling, or the sister or the brother, the brothers, or as a man, you can only be part of the family and speak to the woman of that man. If not, you can't. So I wanted to be able to communicate to women in places like this. So I started to study Arab.
Fantastic. No, I think that's brilliant. And then at least, you can communicate and have, I suppose, deeper conversations, which will just be absolutely fascinating. And you mentioned you got a tattoo. Would you like to share more about that and the words or something that resonated with you?
Yeah, the tattoo is basically, it says Amor Taiba, which means everything is going to be okay. And in that island, there's not one person who doesn't smile, and everybody is like supportive with each other. So if somebody goes fishing and it comes back with 6 fishes, 5 will be for the market and the 6 will be for somebody who cannot pay. So nobody stays without food. Nobody stays without a house. Literally everybody in the island smiles. They're beautiful.
Tell me more about your adventures in Bolivia. What was going on there?
Yeah, Bolivia was a project together with Columbia and Mountains Legacy, which is like a production company from here that I met a few years back. And well, I definitely trained like 2 weeks and a half on like a altitude tent before I went to Bolivia, because I was going to ride up 4,700 meters, which if you put it in perspective, if it's Mont Blanc is the highest peak in Europe. So, well, 100 meters more, but yeah, basically this trip came into our minds and we basically wanted to discover a new place where it had like colors and culture and very rich food. And for me, I saw somebody on the internet, which is pretty known by this discovering and doing beautiful photos around the world on the bike. And I saw Bolivia and I was like, I don't know why, I just had it on my head and I said, let's go there. And I had also put the option as Vietnam, but unfortunately they had a war right when I put the option, or the week after. So I had to like take that off, and Bolivia was. So we wanted to do a loop that also got the Death Road, which is one of the literally most deathly roads in the world. And yeah, before it was more open for cars and obviously it was a very big passage for like 2 towns. Now there's like a normal highway, so people don't really drive there. Luckily, I could understand why it was called Death Road. And yeah, we made this loop around to see some of the most stunning spots around Bolivia.
I suppose one of the things that's come across, especially from you sharing more about your time in Yemen, is, wanting to connect. So you're learning Arabic and, you're living in France, but you're originally from Spain, so you speak Spanish. Were you able to communicate with the locals quite easily when you were out in Bolivia?
Yeah, obviously I could communicate much easier as I had Spanish as my mother language, but they are very reserved. They come from, having suffered a lot in the past. So there are people that they don't welcome tourists that often and that open, let's say like that. So I've spoken to some, but it was not like other trips that you can see on the movies, like Route 66 or like Transport Highway, that we speak a lot more. It was a bit more reserved people, and the villages that you will go through, there will be hardly somebody. Some people were like more in their houses and stuff in middays, and then in the night people would get out. But when people would get out, everybody gets out. So I spoke, let's say I met some locals, but it was not like one behind the other, if that makes sense.
What were the trails out like there, and how was it working? Like, were you doing one specific route? Like, was it a big loop? Was it traveling from A to B? Was it sort of day ride? And how long were you out there for?
But I planned the route to be a loop, We planned to do it in 6 days. I think we had 9 days in total. And yeah, we basically, the first day was pretty tough, even though it was distance-wise, it was very short, but the downhill actually was even worse than the uphill, because from 4,700, I went down to 3,200, I remember. And that drop is so fast because you're actually going fast on the bike and you're actually motivated by the views and all that stuff. It was pretty tough. I can't remember exactly like statistics wise the kilometers and stuff, but yeah, we caught a couple patches of that route just because it was super tough. It was going down to 900 or 1,200 meters up to 3,500. So the days were a lot longer than expected, and the humidity on the bottom was absolutely insane. Also, like I put the route, so I sort of put it out and about through like Google Earth and Google Maps and a bit of like ride GPS and stuff like that. But I didn't really dig in, and you have to sometimes be careful because there's also some places that you might not want to enter, and I don't know what are those places. So there's a lot of coca leaves like that they cultivate. So you do not want to get in the wrong space there.
It's like me just cycling through.
I'm just like, hi, good night. Yeah, there was one night that we tried to find a spot to kind of like sell cells, and we didn't really find. And then I went into somebody and I asked them, and then that person took me into somebody else, and we went into this house. And I'm not gonna lie, the guy was pretty scary on the first when he came out. I thought, he was not gonna shoot us, but pretty much killed us or eat us. I don't know. It was like pretty scary, but actually he was awesome. And then he took us to the gym of the village, and he let us sleep with all the mattresses of the kids for like the gymnastics, and let us sleep there over the night. So that was really nice.
Were you camping? Did you have a tent? Had you figured out accommodation? Oh, wow. Okay. How did that go? Like, what was it like camping out there? Like, is it jungle?
Yeah, it was mixed. So the days that we would go low, we didn't camp just as well, because in case, you never know, snakes or whatever it's in there. So some of the days we stayed in places, some of the days we camped. Others we ask for permission to, the first night, for example, we asked for permission to stay in this like a kind of like abandoned or closed restaurant next to other restaurants. It was this like line of little restaurants. We had dinner in one, and the guy opens us the door of the one next door that it was probably closed, so I don't know. And we slept under like dead meat. It was pretty brutal. But it was better than sleeping outside because it was pretty cold.
Oh, the altitude. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Who were you doing this with?
I was doing this with Mountain Legacy, or like a production company from Chamonix. So they're used to like Everest, Alaska, they're so used to this stuff. And then Columbia, the brand was the one of the sponsor for the film.
Oh, was it just you being filmed? There was no one else on there apart from like the media crew. Oh, wow. That's amazing.
It was interesting.
Would you recommend people go and cycle Death Road?
Bolivia is a place that is developing into a very healthier tourism. And I think cycling could bring them for sure such a beautiful way of just bringing young people. I know I've literally just saw a film about trails that they're building, the Cholitas, which is this like association of women, are starting to help build trails for mountain bikers, and very near to La Paz in Bolivia. So definitely somewhere that I would like to go again, maybe do another route. And the Death Road is also stunning to see, and a lot more than that, So yeah, I don't know. I think I would definitely recommend Bolivia as a spot for cyclists.
You mentioned Turkey, that you're going to be heading back to Turkey. But when was the first time that you were in Turkey? Because I believe that something sort of didn't really go according to the plan.
Yeah, well, that I could say it's one of the most craziest trips in my life.
Okay, let's dig into that. What happened? Take it back to Turkey.
Yeah, Turkey was last year. I've never been so excited, or for a long time, I've been excited, but for a long time, I was not so excited about something and about a route that the one I plugged, like the one I just created in Turkey. It was somewhere that nobody has been before on the bike, or I've researched so much and I never seen anybody around that area. And I was like, okay, I'm doing this 15-day trip. And that was with a friend of mine who has gone bikepacking before. So we did a test in summer around Chamonix, but yeah, he didn't do more than like 2 days of bikepacking, no? Anyway, we go to Turkey. We land in this place called Rize, and we take the coast for a first day spin. As soon as we landed, we planned it in a way that we land in the morning, so then we can ride our bikes already the first thing. So we rode our bikes, and yeah, the first coffee food stop that we did before heading inland, the guys were like, oh no, you can't take this road, it's closed. And I was like, what do you mean it's closed? It's like, yeah, it's closed, it's over, there's a landslide. All this by Google Translate, there's nobody who speaks English. And I was like, okay, well, let's just detour around. And then we started the detour, and the detour was so many tunnels, and the tunnels, obviously nobody knows somebody's riding a bicycle. Like nobody respects the distance there. Like they were like, what are you doing here? I think it looked a bit like a highway, but it was not really a highway. But what is a highway there is like everything is pretty much the same. They're just bigger roads, but every time is only one lane or maybe two lanes. Anyway, we were in these tunnels, and it took us forever to get out of those. And tunnels that they were like, I think one of them was 15 km long and a little bit uphill. So every time we were hearing a truck, it was like Mad Max coming behind us, and it was gonna like just go over us. So, and because of the tunnel was so like loud, we were jumping on the side of the tunnel on walking until the truck will pass, and then started riding again. Anyway, that was just like the first part of the trip. Days passed, everything was fine. Well, the story is very long, but I'm just going to try and shorten it up. Days passed and everything was okay. And we get into this valley, and then I've 100% planned a hiker bike. There was only one hiker bike, and that was it. It was, the day 4, into the day 5. And then the first day while we were going up, we already saw a bear paw in the side of the track, which I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. So we're just going to go and try and sleep above tree line, because in theory, above tree line, there's not many bears. So we go up and we start hiking. I think we did before the sun came down, we did probably 2 km of hiking. We were carrying a 35 kilo bike, and we were at the end of the day, so we were pretty tired. And this farmer, sheeper, or however you want to call it, starts to like yell at us, and then he comes running, and I was like, oh my god, like this guy's gonna kill us or something, And then he starts speaking like super like loud in Turkish, and we were like, we have no idea like what are you saying, if you can write. And then he couldn't write, and then he was saying no. That's the only thing he said in English. And we were like, okay, well, whatever. Like, we understood no, and we understood that it was snow, but I knew that there was going to be snow. I could see it. It was the spring snow. Let's say it was a bit like, you can walk on it, no problem. So we went up. The stars were out. We camped. It was beautiful. The next morning, sunrise was stunning. We started hiking up, and it was taking a long time. My hip, I had problems with my hip for a long time, and my hip, because of walking, and my bike, and my shoulders started to be pretty wobbly and just painful. So my friend, who's a runner, he's like, okay, let's do something. Take all the bags of your bike, all the bikes of my bike, and then I'll carry the bags, and you carry the 2 bikes back and forward. So then he would go back and forward from one bike, the next bike, and one bike, the next bike, mountain goat. Like, he was such a good runner. Oh, he's such a good. Anyway, we arrived to this point that the cloud covers. I think it must have been like between 12 and 1 p.m. And I was like, oh, I don't have a really good feeling about this. And he's like, oh, come on, we pushed so much and so hard up that we can't turn around now. And I was like, yeah, you're actually right. I think this is going to be okay. And then we go up to this like bowl, which already started to like have patches of snow on that rocky bit. By the way, there's a trail, but the trail, you cannot see it. Like I was navigating with my watch and blind on like, how can you navigate on a mountain normally? And then, we arrived to this bowl, and then at the end of the bowl, I stopped. This was already snowed. There was already snow on that patch. And I stopped and I was like, oof, it's starting to snow. Like, maybe we should think about it. And literally our peak was like 120 meters high, and we can see it. We can see it. It was just right there. And we had to just go up and over. So we were like, okay, let's do it. Come on, fast. So we go up, or I go up first thing, drop the bags. He comes up with his bike, drops his bike. And then, he goes down to pick up his bike. And then this cloud comes over, and I couldn't see where he was. I couldn't see anything. The bags were getting full of snow. Everything was getting completely dumped of snow. And I was like, oh my God, there was an insane wind on the top of the ridge where we had to go over. And I started to like panic and be like, I don't think we should go over. And then he came up and he started shivering. And I was like, okay, this is really bad. Like, we can't continue. And he's like, but we just here. I was like, yeah, but the wind is 70 kilometers an hour winds in the other side. It's snowing a lot and we're freezing, and you are like shivering, like we can't continue. Okay, what should we do? And then basically in my head, I was like, has to be like a 1, 2, 3 plan. So we got the tent, we got everything we could from the bikes and the bike bags. We left the bikes up there, came down to that little bowl, pitched the tent, and tried to like warm each other up. But that did not happen. It was freezing cold. The tent was covered by snow by the time of like, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. And so I was like, no, we need to do a plan. And then he's like, yeah, but he was not, I think he was already in such a cold that he couldn't think.
Yeah.
And then I started panicking, and I started like, oh my God, like I was in pure panic. But then I realized that he still couldn't think. And I was like, okay, I need to make a plan myself. And then I was like, okay, 1, 2, 3, we take the tent down and we start running down, and we go back to this like sheep shelter. And that's what we did. We went down, and at all this, so, and the story is, again, it's a lot longer, but at all this, we didn't have phone receptions for like the last 2 days. We met a local 2 days before that he helped us with the menu in a restaurant, in a little cabin restaurant, that we end up sleeping actually that night because we went forward, but we didn't have any space on any other one. So we went backwards to the same one, and we slept there. And then the day before we went up the first part of the hill, we found him doing a construction in a house on the side of the road, and he invited us for tea. And he had a camera tattooed on his hand, and he's like, and I was like, oh, you like photography? And he's like, yeah, we like photography. And I was like, okay, give me your Instagram and I'll follow you when I have reception. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he told us, oh yeah, the weather is not coming until Wednesday. And that was Monday. So we had plenty of time in theory. Anyway, when we came down the mountain, we found this shelter that the sheep men have gone. He was out. Like, there was no sheep, there was no sheepmen, there was nobody. And he actually locked everything with clues. And I took them off and went in there, pitched the tent in there because it was not a full cover shelter, made some fire and tried to warm ourselves, but everything was soaked and everything was bad. Anyway, I got the idea of sending a message to my roommates, the guys who used to live with me on the upstairs apartment, through my SIM card from Europe that it got 1 bar. So I sent a normal message to them and said, hey, we are stuck in a snowstorm. This is our coordinates. We met this guy. I know that he has a 4x4. Please send him a message and tell them to pick us up tomorrow morning. We have a shelter. We are safe. And then that was our message. That was, the message I sent. And then basically the next hour I was shivering, and my friend fell asleep, and an hour and a half later, more or less, I hear a car, and I was like, hey, there's a car. And he's like, you're completely dreaming. There's no car who's going to pick us up. And I was like, no, I can hear a car. And then I see some lights pointing at us. Thanks to the fact that we made a fire, there was smoke coming out. So they could see the smoke, and then they could know where we were. And because the woods of that shelter were not lined up, there was a lot of holes. We could see the lights perfectly. So then I went out on string with just a jacket saying, we are here. And then they took us to their place that they were staying. And that was it was not the end of the story, because the bikes were still up there. And 3 days after, in one of the big cities, we managed to rent a car, go all the way around where we were meant to finish that day on that refuge on the other side of the mountain, which it was their last day of opening, because then the snow was coming again. And we told them the story, and the guy was like, you guys are crazy. You can go and pick up the bike by yourself. And we went up the mountain for I think it took us nearly 6 hours to go up and down, and then pick up the bikes under the snow, buried completely, at least half centimeter of snow, and found the bikes. So long story. Sorry about that.
Don't apologize. This is why we have podcasts. Do you know what? There can be really scary situations where you have to make decisions. And then I think, especially when it starts getting cold and you lose your ability to think coherently, simple decisions can be the difference between life and death. You know, if you decided to carry on going, with 70 kilometer or per hour winds, that is actually really, really dangerous. But you said 1, 2, 3 plan. What does that mean? Is that a tactic?
I guess I've done it a few times of okay, you count to 3 and you have to think, because I feel like I'm an overthinker, and it's if not, I just go all over. I will have 3 plans and not 1. So I just count to 3 and be choose 1, do 1, that's it, and go for it. But yeah.
After sort of Turkey, and you've gone through the palaver of getting back to the big town, getting the car, heading back, going back at the other side, collecting all your bikes and stuff, and reflecting back, I suppose, on that situation and that challenge and the risk. Has it changed anything for you in terms of gear you take on an adventure, or how you plan, or has it changed anything in how you respond to when situations go wrong?
Not really, because that was one of the ones I had very well planned. And it didn't go to plan at all after the first detour. So everything, that was the title, everything changed because of the detour. And if that didn't happen, we would have been a day later, and that would have made us not go there. So you can plan so much, but at the end, you don't know further of what you can see, pretty much. And no, I think I moved to the mountains a little while before that trip into Morzine, which is an hour and a half from Chamonix. And it's still mountains. There's still a 2,000-meter peak, but it's obviously not Chamonix. And then I moved to Chamonix this February. And, my goal is to understand and know more on the mountains. So trying to take as much alpine courses. I did a high altitude medicine course to know more about that. I've taken before, when I was surfing, I wanted to surf big waves. So I started doing a lot of apnea, but I also did beach lifeguard course. So then I knew how to do things on the beach and a first aid and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think that's for me. I want to know and be able to react to any problem situation that is out of what you can do or where you think you could do. So yeah, that's probably what I'm working on.
So one of the things that I know you're incredibly passionate about is the W Collective. You're the founder of it. Do you want to share more about the W Collective and what it does and its purpose and its mission?
Yeah, W Collective, I found it just after pandemic with something that it was the W Talks, which was basically Instagram lives with awesome women around the world. And because we were not able to connect face to face, I thought that it would be nice to have people know about these other women around the world. So that was the start. And then it was just a collective. I ended up doing a collective, trying to do like woman camps and rides and like more stuff. Obviously that takes a lot of time. Currently is in pause because, I also started a forum that didn't went that well because I guess people have a lot of sources these days and it's very hard to like focus on one and have that one as the only one. And I totally understand. And I understand why it didn't work. And then what I end up doing is like, okay, I'm just going to do it physically. Like I'm just going to do rides for women in different events. So because I'm lucky enough that I go to different gravel events, I could do women's rides pre-order those events where all these women around the world connect. And that has been my goal, for the past years with the W Collective, that women on other countries and other cities, they connect. It's like, well, I collaborate with clubs in Amsterdam and Brussels to do rides, to connect other people that I can bring through and they can bring through, and then they connect and they have a new club or new friend to ride. Because I felt like when I was starting cycling, I was cycling mostly alone. There was not many women in Barcelona as cyclists. Probably if they were very pros, or, they were not into like what I was. I don't know. Like I didn't find that group of women. I think I did one of the first mountain bike woman rides ever done in Barcelona as well at the time. So I don't know. I feel like, yeah, my goal with the collective has always been connecting women and made them know that they have a place to ride in the other side of the world.
And Sami, where are you most active on social media? How can people connect with you, find out more about the W Collective, your own personal challenges, watch more of your films? Where should they go?
Instagram, but if you don't want to get lost on scrolling around, my website has most of the stuff, which is a little bit more like a book, but online because that things doesn't get lost. So yeah, head to my website and just check. There's all the films and there's all the adventures and there's a full podcast about Turkey. I tried to make this short, but it's hard to make it short to be able to understand. I did auto record myself. I think it was like 38 minutes of a story. So yeah, if you want to listen it all, obviously head over there. But yeah, everything could be placed on my website.
Brilliant. And that's Sami Sauri, SAURI.com. So I'll definitely include all of the links to your website, to your social media, so that people can find you and follow along. But Sami, I would love for you to share your final words of advice and wisdom for other women. You want to get outdoors, they want to take on new challenges. What advice would you like to share? But please don't say just do it. And you can take that advice in any direction that you would like.
I just say, go out and explore. Like you always have the no. That's what I say myself. So like try and, if you want to ask a question, again, you always have the no, but you don't know what's the answer. So go and do it. Go and try it. Obviously, don't let anybody stop you. I guess that's a bit cliche, but I have gone through a lot of stuff and I did not let anybody stop me and I will not do it either now. So yeah, if you want something, go and pursue it. I've struggled with that over the past year and I did this challenge of the Tour de Mont Blanc, on one go. And I literally didn't even believe in myself that I was going to do it, but I went out and did it and it was absolutely amazing. So if you don't do it, you don't know it.
Why were you struggling with your confidence about taking on the Tour de Mont Blanc? Why were you thinking that you couldn't do it?
Well, I had some like personal problems in the beginning, mid-year that set me back on training and bike and everything. So I've been really hustling on actually endurance. And, my longest ride, I think it was 5 or 6 hours before I went to Italy to do a bikepacking trip, that it was so hot that we were going so slow and we ate so much ice cream that it didn't really count. And then I had to recover from that. And then I was like, okay, I need to do something to understand for myself if I can still do what I'm doing. And yeah, I just didn't believe that I could do it, because if you looked to numbers and if I looked to what I did, for example, in Italy, that it was like so slow. I was like, there's no way I'm going to finish this in 18 hours, Also because it was my first time ever tackling like 6,000, 7,000 meter. I've never done in one go 6,000 meters before. So I didn't know how my body was going to react. I also had a new bike from like a month ago. So everything could go wrong, everything could go right. And then actually everything went fine. So I'm very happy, and I'm now very motivated that things can go well.
That's so nice. I'm glad that you got your confidence back. Glad that you went out to do Tour de Mont Blanc. Is there a film about that? Has that come out?
No, unfortunately, it was pretty hard to find a filmer available that day. For some reason, everybody that I knew was booked or out, or they were not here. So unfortunately, there's no movie. It's just some images, and that's it. But the next year, it's coming something better and more special, and hopefully, that will close my cycle of cycling.
Oh, I'm intrigued. Maybe around the world. Who knows?
No. Long distance, but not so long.
Long distance, but also. Oh, can I guess? Like Trans-Siberian? No, do I mean Trans-Siberian?
No, I'll do 5 events, 5 different events that they're culturally completely different to each other, and all stunning and all community wise and everything. But no, I'm not gonna do like a one long crazy thing. I think it stays as a few.
That sounds amazing. And I love the community aspect as well. So I'm sure everyone will definitely be following along with that adventure challenge, and it'd be amazing to catch up with you, I suppose, at the end of next year to reflect back on those adventures and challenges and just share more about them.
Amazing. I would love to.
Brilliant. Sami, thank you so much again for coming on Tough Girl Podcast. It's been incredible to speak to you, and best of luck with all those future adventures and challenges.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah.
Hey, tribe. How are you all doing? I hope you're all keeping super well. It's Sarah Williams, the host of the Tough Girl Podcast and the founder of Tough Girl Challenges. Just checking in, giving you a little update. No new news, really. I'm just being very consistent at the moment. I am sticking to my workout routines. I'm going to the gym. I am lifting 5 times a week. So every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Sunday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Oh, and Friday as well. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, rest day Monday, rest day. Wait, am I lifting on Friday? Do I lift on Friday? No, rest day Saturday. So yes, I lift Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, rest day Saturday, and gym on Sunday, rest day on Monday. I'm trying to do a bit more meal planning. So every Sunday I'm making my food for the week, which is really great. So when I come in and before I head off to work, I can just grab my food, which is already prepared, just grab it and go. Otherwise, I've just started a new interview block. So I'm interviewing new guests for the Tough Girl Podcast, which is really exciting. It's always amazing to speak to these incredible women around the world who are doing these phenomenal challenges, and helping them to promote their story and to share their journey that they've been on, the challenges that they face and overcome, and what they've learned along the way. So speaking to so many incredible women, not enough. I honestly, I think this all the time. I just keep thinking I'm just not doing enough. I just can't get the amount of episodes I want out there. There are so many incredible women, especially in the world of adventure and physical challenges, doing epic things. And so Yeah, big shout out to all of you guys, all of you for doing adventures, doing challenges, signing up for race, getting outdoors, doing your exercise, going walking, going hiking, signing up for Ironman, taking on new challenges and adventures. It's absolutely inspiring, and you are inspiring so many people around you, your friends, your peers, your family. So no comparisons allowed. Don't compare yourself to anybody else and what they are doing. I am planning a little venture in April, heading over to Spain to do a little Camino, the Camino Anglais, the English Camino. It's about 125 kilometers from Ferrol, Ferrol, to Santiago. So that should be a lot of fun, just trying to finalize those details and get that into place, which will be epic. I will be filming it, of course, and sharing it on social media. Otherwise, it's just very same old, working, interviewing, exercising, trying to eat well, trying to put on muscle, trying to build some bone density, all of that good stuff. What else do I have to share? That's it. New episodes every Tuesday at 7 a.m. UK time. The Tough Girl podcast vlogs from the New Zealand trip are also going live Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Absolutely epic to rewatch those episodes, all those experiences for me. We're coming to the end of the trail now, so the last vlog goes live, I think about on the 3rd of March, and then it'll all be over. I am thinking about whether it's worth doing a documentary. I'm not quite sure, but if there is like a filmmaker over there who's been watching the vlogs and you think, oh, you've definitely got enough footage and maybe we could do some post-interview stuff with me, then please do give me a shout out, because it'd be quite fun to enter into some film competitions maybe, or some of the film festivals that they have going on in the UK. That's what I've been umming and ahhing at the moment. It's just one of those things that gets added to the to-do list, although it would be nice to do at some point list. But I hope you're all well. It'd be great to hear from you. Please do reach out. I'm on Instagram at Tough Girl Challenges. I'd love to hear what you're training for, what you're working towards. What are challenges are you facing at the moment? Are there certain types of questions that you want me to be focusing on the Tough Girl podcast? Is it finances? Is it a specific type of training? Is it nutrition? Is it the mental side of things? Is it the recovery afterwards, dealing with the adventure blues? Is there an area that I haven't focused in on, whether it's perimenopause, menopause, being a mum, adventuring with children? Please do let me know. It's always great to hear from you. It is wonderful to connect with any of the listeners of the Tough Girl podcast. It means a lot. If you're in a financially great place at the moment and you think, I'd love to support the work that Sarah's doing, and I'm doing really well, I would love you to pay it forward. If you could visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl podcast. It will take a couple of minutes to set up, but once you're set up, you will feel so content and happy that you are helping to support the mission to increase the amount of female role models in the media. So it really does make a lot of difference. Otherwise, it would be fantastic if you could tell one friend about the Tough Girl podcast, if you could write a review, if you could take a screenshot, share it on your social media, tag me in it at Tough Girl Challenges, then I can reshare. It really just helps me to promote the incredible women who are out there doing these amazing challenges and who just do not get the media exposure that they 100% deserve. Thank you for your amazing support. Thank you for being you. And all that's left for me to say is, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, give it your all, give it 110%. Get after it, go for it, believe in yourself, because I believe in you. Take care, lots of love, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.